custom ordered upholstery. Get the furniture you want and the fabric and color selection you want. With our free design service, we won't let you make a mistake.
I know you're going through a lot. I wonder if you know that we can get help. Let's see how far we can go. Love, your mind.
Dijimos que nunca romperíamos la regla de los 3 segundos. Nunca haríamos esto. Y nunca nos convertiríamos en una mamá con minivan. Como padres decimos nunca sobre muchas cosas, pero los nunca a veces suceden. Así que, aunque digas que nunca dejarías a tu hijo en un auto caliente, es algo que puede suceder. Antes de alejarte del auto, siempre para, mira, cierra.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Heavy rainfall across North Mississippi continues to be our main focal point heading into our Tuesday afternoon. What you're seeing right here is a live look there in Starkville here in the Room to Room Weather Center. This submitted by Craig Cece down in the Starkville area. Heavy downpours resulting in some flooding concern. That's one of the things we're watching is that flash flood warning currently in effect for Oktibbeha County until 6:15. Joining us now is Chief Meteorologist Matt Laupon. Matt, what are we seeing as of, 5 o'clock?
Well, the rain, I think the heaviest of that rain, luckily, is not quite as heavy in and around the Oktibbeha County area as what it was earlier. Of course, welcome you in here at the Room Room Weather Centers. We're checking our various cameras. While I show sky cams, most of these are our Mississippi Department of Transportation cameras in and around Oktibbeha County. The rain, the heaviest, has largely slacked off in the last little bit, showing up 68 degrees, that temperature there in Starkville at this time. And look at the very latest scans here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar at this instant. We still do show that flash flood warning in effect for the Starkville area still until 6:15. But as you can see here, and we'll make this a loop over the course of the last hour, that certainly things have changed dramatically in that period in time, from the very, very heavy rainfall to things largely subsiding. We have not had a lot of reports of significant impacts, according to either the North Mississippi Storm Chasers or our discussion with the National Weather Service. I want to double check that. Yeah, no new information in either of those situations related to the rainfall issues there in the Starkville area, thankfully. So it looks like, as far as ground truth is concerned, luckily we do not have anything that is of extreme concern at this instant. But the 3-hour rainfall totals you can see there, where we do show some of the yellows and oranges, 3 inches or more, and a lot of that came in about an hour or so. So that's one of the issues with this. You can see that stripe of heavier rainfall back out here towards Center Grove as well in the western portion of the county, out past 8 to 10 locations that direction. The pockets are there where we've had the really heavy rainfall, certainly southern 2/3 of the area where that has been the most plentiful. Another one of those locations out there in Montgomery County, 2 inches near the Noxubee and Winston County lines, a couple spots there around 2 inches or so. And bringing it back to the latest scans on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, some of those locations still seeing some of the heaviest at this point in time. So again, kind of looking ahead where the worst could go from here. Looking for Louisville as I click off that flash flood warning. You don't officially have a flash flood warning, because we looked at a moment ago there are some pretty hefty totals in and around. Notice how the fact that we have these back building. Watch the beginning scan here. Some of those spots, and then storms kind of building back into that. That's the scenario where we tend to have the heaviest rainfall totals. And the fact we have another little push of a storm there from near the Huntsville community and near McCool that'll move toward Kerr and down here toward Calvary. That is going to kind of, I think, enhance it. I think an additional inch and a half of rainfall, easily possible. Could be Winston County here. Some of these locations we're looking at could be our next flash flood warning if another is issued for some spots. That's one location where we'd be concerned. Because again, if we bring this back here to the accumulation of rainfall over the last 3 hours, this is where, again, we have some of those heftier totals there, really kind of adding up just because things are back building into those locations there. As we kick it back over here to the regular rainfall mode on Mississippi Live Weather Radar here and kind of widen things out, another area we're watching out here closer to Durant, right along I-55 south of Vaden. I want to check out our camera there in Winona, which again, a little bit north there, should hopefully have a viewpoint into the heaviest of that rainfall. Kind of bring that up here for just a moment for you. Winona camera, and I might have to swing this one around just a little bit so as that kind of pops on that mix of cloud cover, different layers that we're looking at this time. Let's kind of slide this around. You can see looking 221, so to give you a shot into the darkest of the gray there, we unfortunately have to look toward the tower in the Winona area. But again, that dark gray, again, that's that heavy rainfall. Winona, 74 degrees. Of course, we've had some showers around, and this perspective there, again, looking back toward the south and into where things are a little bit heavier at this time. You can see into Carroll County a few of those. Our meteorologist Gabe Maynard with a little bit of information here. I'm going to bring him in for a second. Gabe, what are you looking at as of now, right at what, 5:04?
Well, 5:04, the North Mississippi Storm Chaser is letting us know that a viewer report of 2 inches on Jeff P. Road, which is just around the Starkville area. So that kind of verifies those rainfall outputs we've been tracking. Again, some of that's kind of generalized whenever we talk about those rainfall outputs we show on our system. So if you have any of those rainfall reports yourself, or you have a rain gauge that's been tracking this rainfall, go ahead and send that over to us at info@msliveweather.com or to Matt or I's Facebook page, and we'll be sure to forward that information back towards the National Weather Service. But Matt, you know, the viewers help out big time in these circumstances because we're all relying on what's happening way high up in the sky. What matters is what's happening on the ground, and that's what viewers can help us with.
Absolutely, have obviously a better view of that from ground level. Appreciate that, Gabe. You'll notice also we continue to have additional development back out here into the Delta, closer to Cleveland and Greenwood. It's kind of a similar story. This overall pattern allowing this kind of back building development. If I put my hand here, watch a 1 hour loop, it's almost like those showers are appearing right at my hand right there, north of 82, close to Mississippi Highway 8 there near the Drew community. Again, that kind of trying to expand back toward Greenwood. So this kind of scenario where we need the rainfall is a scenario where from time to time you do get those patches of flooding rainfall to go alongside that. Widen things back out. Again, looking northward, you'll notice the majority of North Mississippi not seeing anything of terrible significance. Well, terrible is the wrong word for that. I think we'd like to see it. But overall, the pattern definitely showing that the heavy rainfall remains the biggest issue for most of these thunderstorms, primarily south of US 82. I think the other thing I want to mention here, Gabe, before we kind of progress on too much, is just the fact that luckily we're not talking about severe weather out of these thunderstorms. It is the heavy rainfall, but certainly potent in a lot of spots.
For sure. And you mentioned severe weather, and this is one of the things that we're going to get into tonight at 6, is a very slim part of our area is under a severe weather threat come Thursday. But again, we'll talk more details on that here in just a moment. Today, it's just going to be that heavy rainfall, and that's what we continue to see across North Mississippi, or at least south of 82 for folks down there. So what we're going to be tracking is, of course, tracking those afternoon thunderstorms, how long they stick around for. We'll do updated storm tracks here in just a moment, but we're also talking about lingering rain chances into our Wednesday. Is it going to be severe? No, but it still could have some impacts in regards to that heavy rainfall. But the big story heading into the latter part of our work week is that the temperatures are climbing. I wanted to be eager and say that we are done with the 90s, but then Mother Nature said, no, watch this, and we are heating up immensely over the next couple of days, so just buckle up. Summer has its last push, definitely trying to keep it in the forecast. So this evening, 30% chance of those showers, primarily south of Highway 82. The rest of us, very, very isolated in nature, so I don't have those rain chances too high unless you're down there towards Winston, Noxubee, or Attala County. Those dissipating out by 9 o'clock and even into that midnight hour. And what we're going to be left with, especially for areas that don't really see winds beyond this system, is that moisture going to produce some patchy fog for our morning commute heading into our Wednesday. So from one hazard to another, right? I mean, we're just dealing with all of it here in North Mississippi. Zooming things back into the North Mississippi area, what we're seeing right now is that trough with that little bit of a disturbance right over the top of us right now. That's why we're getting some of those rain chances. Still, I mean, pretty much scattered. There's not really a uniform development, but that's as it's continuing to develop, is just that disturbance right over the top of us, producing some more of these isolated chances of showers and storms. Even by 10 o'clock, isolated chances, but we're just outside of the threshold with those chances primarily down around Jackson and even over there towards Little Rock. So as that continues to progress into North Mississippi, we'll see some of those rain chances pop back into the forecast heading into those early hours on our Wednesday, primarily out there in the Mississippi Delta. As you can see, this eastern Arkansas, western Mississippi area has the highest likelihood of those showers, but some of those transitioning more into the central part of our viewing area. So the next 24 for the morning hours, not overly high on those rain chances, but towards the afternoon, you see that we're picking up once again with that 30% coverage by 3 o'clock. Again, not everyone going to see a drop, but hopefully the areas that missed out on the rainfall today get the rainfall in the forecast tomorrow, because we do still need that rainfall in the extended forecast. 20% by 6, 10% by 9. And temperature-wise, I mean, we have us climbing into the mid-80s. For some areas that are drier, we could be talking about the upper 80s. And then in the extended forecast, like I mentioned, 90s are back. We're not talking about a fashion trend. We're talking about temperatures, because it is going to be toasty a little something to look forward to with that last bit of summer lingering around. So coming up in 60 seconds, we're going to be walking through that temperature forecast and that temperature outlook, how the humidity could play a part in that forecast, and how that could impact our weekend plans as well. We're going to continue tracking those storms and giving you updated storm tracks on those, and of course your rain chances for your Wednesday. All of that coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 5 in the next 60. I think we clicked off.
Up here's where your biggest risks hide: leaks, mold, and expensive damage. Most commercial roofs fail slowly until they fail big. Why rip it off when you can restore it? Our silicone coatings stop leaks, prevent mold, and extend your roof life without the high replacement cost. It's a 30-year watertight roof, energy efficient, leak-free, and half the cost of replacement. And it's backed by GE's manufacturer warranties. Facility managers love this. No disruption, no tear-off, and long-term protection for your property. Trust Absolute Restoration for your commercial roof.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
We've been talking about those rain chances down there in Oktibbeha County and just that heavy downpour that was taking place. This was submitted by Brian in the Starkville area moments before that heavy rainfall happened. You can see that dark cloud starting to move in, a little bit of a shelf cloud there along that leading edge, showing you the intensity of this storm. And I mean, this is exactly what we'd expect. There's a heavy downpour beneath what looks like a pretty menacing cloud. But I mean, this is just one of many spots that are seeing those heavy downpours and even a few strikes of lightning. Well, that was fun. Whatever just happened right there. Well, that was a journey. But looking at our Mississippi Live Weather radar, that flash flood warning still in effect, but only light to moderate rainfall right now in Oktibbeha County. The heaviest portions down there in Winston and really out there towards Attala and Montgomery County are watching those transition more along that I-55 corridor. So Kosciuszko in for quite a downpour here in just a few moments. And looking at those rainfall outputs, I mean, we're talking 2 to 3 inches there in Oktibbeha County, hence why the flash flood warning was issued. So far, we've been fortunate that there aren't any reports of significant flooding, seeing 2 inches just on the west side of Oktibbeha County, but overall we've not gotten that many reports, and that's a good sign because that means that there's not immense damage to report. And then as we look down south there towards Macon and Louisville, we are seeing a little bit of that accumulating total of anywhere from 2 to 3 inches as well. But you do see behind me out there towards northwest Alabama, quite a downpour earlier on today. That was upwards of 4 inches in some parts. So some areas getting more than others, but there's still a large threshold that remained on the drier side. So hopefully we can move some of that rainfall into your area tomorrow because, as I mentioned, a lot of North Mississippi still in desperate need of getting some of that rainfall totals back. Winona, 82 degrees, and you're seeing those dark clouds off there in the distance. Those are transitioning south into Attala County, like we mentioned. So this is that view from the North Mississippi storm chasers on what's taking place along that I-55 corridor. Winona, not the only location. We're also tracking a few of those showers towards Adenton. This much less in coverage and much less in intensity from what it was even about an hour ago. So fortunately, that flash flood warning, I think that we've gotten the worst of it, and so far not anything too crazy to report in the Oktibbeha County area. Not just in Adenton, not just in Winona, but Macon showcasing heavy downpours as well to where you can't even see across the camera because of those dark gray clouds and that heavy rainfall. So heavy rainfall, a big highlight of our forecast with some lightning strikes here and there. So if you're planning on getting out and about, not going to say that today's the best day, but if you are north of Highway 82, you have some chances of getting that drier weather. 20% coverage around 7, 10% there towards 9 and 11 o'clock. So if it's heading to the park, you bring the rain gear just in case, but if it's just getting out and about and staying inside in the process, well, maybe that's the best bet for this evening's plans. Temperature-wise, mild this evening, 76 around 7, 68 there towards 11, and cooling off into those overnight hours. But let's walk through Futurecast, and Futurecast does a good job of pinpointing where those showers and storms are taking place. Again, pretty much getting all three there towards Attala County, there towards Noxubee and Winston County, and even what's left there in Oktibbeha County. A lot of those fizzling on out as we head into those overnight hours to 7 o'clock. Like I mentioned, got a 20% coverage right there. 9 o'clock, right wrapping up around 10%, and those even dissipating out overnight into that 10 o'clock hour. Now, speaking of overnight, we stay on the drier side overnight with mostly clear skies, so it should be another comfortable night across North Mississippi. Enjoy it, soak it in, because it's going to be a good evening heading into our Wednesday. Wednesday morning, isolated showers start to move into the Mississippi Delta. This is one of the things our meteorologist Maggie McCauley will be walking us through for our morning commute, is where those showers are happening and, of course, what to expect as we're getting out and about. I have that staying west of I-55, but she'll have the latest detail on what to expect for that morning commute. Wednesday low temperatures, low to mid 60s, so pretty mild start to the day. But as we head through the end of the work week, you'll be appreciating those low to mid 60s a little bit more. So Futurecast, let's keep that going into our Wednesday, and those isolated chances continue to develop there in the Delta. But as we push more into that late morning hour, a lot of that fog, a lot of that moisture has dissipated on out, and we'll be seeing mostly clear skies for our lunch hour. Then we get into the afternoon, and that's when things start to ramp up once again. Some of those scattered showers and storms moving back into the forecast, seeing that right here, basically outlining our viewing area at that point, but those heavier portions starting to develop closer to 3, 4, and 5 o'clock, and those going to be still scattered, but still impactful where those do pop up. So hopefully we can get it in this area that has not seen too much rainfall there in the northwest side of our viewing area, but fingers crossed on that, because summer forecasting, I mean, they can take those showers anywhere at this point. So 5 o'clock on your Wednesday, again, staying on the mostly dry side, those showers remaining on the scattered formation, so not going to be everyone getting a drop, unfortunately. And so where it's going to be a drier forecast, we do have upper 80s with a few low 90s popping up, 90 Grenada, Clarksdale, Tunica, 89 Senatobia. So it is going to be even warmer than where we sat at today. Heat indices, not going to be crazy though. And that's the thing with this moisture, is it's keeping our temperatures a little bit more bearable, that cloud cover not making it that humid forecast, not making it that unbearable forecast. So still, I would say, a good forecast for our afternoon temperatures, despite it being warmer than where we were at today. As we keep Futurecast going into our Wednesday evening, those isolated chances still remaining south of our area there towards Kemper County there in Mississippi. Those all transition east into northern Alabama, so away from North Mississippi for our Thursday morning. But pay attention to our Thursday morning, because we do have isolated chances for showers and storms that could be on the stronger side heading into our afternoon. What you're seeing right there is that frontal boundary push in, and that's where it's going to bring in some of that unstable air with some of these isolated showers that do develop. So this far northeast corner is what we're watching for, that severe weather. Again, possible severe weather, not exactly expecting it, but it's definitely possible into our Thursday afternoon. But this front right here, it starts to move into our area, but then starts to evade just a bit and extend a little bit more towards the north. So this is not going to fully impact our area. It's actually not going to drop temperatures at all as that retracts and moves up the east coast. So unfortunate thing for us. The only fortunate thing about it is going to bring some of those increased rainfall chances. So we have that at about 20% coverage for our Thursday. High temperatures, since it'll be dry for the most part here in North Mississippi, low to mid 90s expected, 94 Greenwood, Belzona, 92 Grenada, 92 there towards Bruce. Feels like values right around that same margin. So again, it's not going to be that overly muggy forecast. Those feels like values right around that same margin as our actual temperatures. But here's a look at high temperatures. 90 for Thursday, transitions to 94 on Friday, and then really drops back to 86 by Saturday. What that front is going to do is, again, retreat up there towards the north, but another frontal boundary pushes through Friday night and will drop those temperatures into the mid 80s for our weekend and beyond at that point. So we just get really toasty and then back to comfortable just like that. So that's going to be your Friday into your Saturday. And again, heat indices not going to be overly high. We have the topping out there on Friday about the 97, 98 degree margin. So again, that's a good thing about this forecast, is it keeps those temperatures bearable despite it being on the warmer side. Now I know Thursday's showing up. It doesn't have a rain chance on there, but I would have that anywhere from 10 to 20% for that far northeast corner, especially here in North Mississippi. Friday, Saturday, isolated in nature. And as that front clears, drying up there for Sunday. So Sunday looks like a fantastic forecast, especially for week 1 of NFL being back in action. But then Monday and Tuesday, rain chances move back into the forecast. It's one of the things we're watching in the extended forecast is just how those rain chances impact us. We'll be walking through that in more detail as we head through the rest of our work week and into the weekend. So right now, already an active pattern, and joining us now will be our Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon, to track these showers in more detail and let us know what to expect in that extended forecast. So Matt?
Okay, go ahead and, I gotta pop my mic back up.
Oh.
Sorry.
I'll come back on to hold.
I realized I was over there cutting into something, and I'm sure everyone could hear me like, so I went ahead and muted that. Over there, if you would, on the other computer, see if you can pull up the Facebook chat with North Mississippi Storm Chasers. They have a little information, I think, coming in. I think some trees down, things of that. So you'll have to pull up the chat over there on that computer. We'll take a look at that. Let's bring it back in here then to locations back in the Oktibbeha County area. As we talked about, we do have that flash flood warning that remains in effect, time period on that until I think 6:15. No word from the Weather Service on whether or not they're going to hold on to this all the way until that point, but certainly the heaviest of that rainfall done. But I think as that went through a collapsing phase, it's possible kicked out a couple of stronger wind gusts as well related to that. Just go and weigh me down there, Gabe, when you do get that information pulled up. If you've got that, okay. So let's go ahead and we'll go and send that over to Gabe in the Weather Center over there. Gabe, what do you got?
Well, so what we have is a report from Stan with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers that a tree is down on New Light Road just southwest of Starkville. So the road is currently blocked, and hopefully crews are out there trying to get it repaired, but that is going to be a big oak that is down right now. So the unfortunate part about it, we've been talking about flooding damage, but we haven't even mentioned the possibility of a few of these gusty winds with those saturated conditions knocking down a few of those trees. So again, that is New Light Road on the southwest side of Starkville. I mean, you can see, let's see, we're close to the Country Meadows area, I would almost expect. So watching for that, and hopefully crews get out there here pretty quickly to get it cleared.
Okay, that's our meteorologist Gabe Maynard reporting. Appreciate that, Gabe, here in the Room to Room Weather Center. And that our only warning at this point in time. I'm going to go ahead and force our system, put on every possible advisory just in case there's something else out there we're missing. Sometimes we have some of the flooding. No, we've got all the flooding stuff on there, luckily. Let's double check to make sure there aren't any other reports around the region as I kind of put on our storm reports. Nothing out there of significant concern at this time. And our heaviest storms, as we talked about earlier, have kind of dipped down here into Winston and Noxubee counties, all kind of, again, it's the lack of movement that's the issue. Let's check and see how the rainfall has progressed over the last 15, 20 minutes or so. Because I want to see how rainfall accumulations are going there, because there were really a few spots here where we're starting to pick up a bit more. Now near the Estes community, you'll notice that's adding up to about 2.7 inches. That was only about 2 inches at the beginning of the broadcast. And you can see another spot there, nearly 3 inches, kind of north of Mississippi Highway 14 to the east of Mississippi Highway 25 there, near, this would be the Winston and Noxubee County line. That's about as heavy as some of the rainfall totals up there toward the Oktibbeha County area. No guarantees Weather Service is going to go ahead and issue flash flood warning, anything like that. But as you can see, only 0.2 of an inch on the estimation difference between those spots. So there could be, again, some back roads with some flooding issues and washouts, things of that nature, because that has come down in a pretty hefty hurry. So certainly watch that potential there. Not adding really any more to this as we put this back into motion here, loop the 1 hour loop up here close to Huntsville, Mississippi. Yeah, that is actually over the last hour or so starting to retreat just a little bit. So we're past the heaviest on that. And again, this is the way we're just kind of looking to see if we can spot any issues we do have out there south and west of Vaden near Emory there. One spot where that's really kind of picked up as well. And going back to the regular rainfall mode there, again, this is where we have, the storms kind of regenerating same spot. So out here near the west community, near 55, south of Vaden, kind of south of Greenwood. Again, those are some of the locations where we're going to definitely be watching the potential for some heavier rainfalls. I go over here to the Greenwood camera. I do want to bring in our meteorologist, Gabe Maynard, once again, who's been kind of looking at some things here behind the scenes. That's a lot of heavy rainfall there in the Greenwood area, Gabe.
I mean, it's dumping rainfall in certain spots that are actually receiving the heavy downpours. I do want to say, I know it's outside of our viewing area, but kind of gives us a perspective of how rainy of a day it was. A record rainfall was set for the maximum rainfall total in Vicksburg of 4.69 inches, and the old record was 2.01. So we broke it by 2.5 inches today. So quite a rainy day, and that camera kind of does it justice on what to expect. Now, 4 inches is not happening in Greenwood, but if it were to remain in that area for about another hour or two, well, that definitely could be a different story, and that's kind of what took place in Vicksburg today.
Yeah, and then the real question on that becomes the rainfall rate and how heavy that is falling. Looking here in the this would be Greenwood area, excuse me. Let's bring it in and check some of those rainfall rates at that spot. Again, it's obviously very heavy rainfall, but the rate coming in where we have the purples on there, and as we've kind of talked about over time, anytime you talk about the purples, especially kind of the lighter in purples, that's where it's the near blinding rainfall. So on the south side of town there, if it were to stay put, and luckily it is not, you'd be putting down about 7 inches of rainfall an hour. And how long have you been experiencing that? Well, some of those spots about the last 7-8 minutes. So again, really blinding for a little bit, and that heaviest moving on, but you kind of get in one of these stripes where you have that rainfall remaining heavier for an extended period. That's certainly when it starts really adding up in some of those rain gauges there. Back to the rainfall mode, and this is kind of a scenario where we do consider it could potentially start doing some flooding issues if things continue. Let's do a 1-hour loop here, because you'll note here out there near Schlater, if this kind of can develop what we call training, where these showers kind of follow the same area, that's when it really starts to add up. So we're watching things actually very closely out for you around Greenwood and Sunflower and Indianola, depending on how that ends up playing out. That's kind of the zone we're most concerned at this point. So other than that, the far northern part of the state, drier air continues to kind of build in at this point. Unfortunately, the heaviest largely done. Not to say we don't have a couple isolated showers, but probably not a ton of those. Of course, to track the showers on the go, probably the easiest way for you to do that, and watch our live stream as is possible, is using the Mississippi Live Weather app, being available for those iOS devices as well as Android devices. You know, if you are watching us on the Facebooks, I should joke that I always throw an S off that on the books of face or something like that. That's just the way I make fun of it behind the scenes. Yeah, it looks like everyone's just talking about watching from Smithville, you know, and then watching how things are largely going. Of course, the heavy rainfall there.
Vote.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that vote a little later on this evening.
Well, you said Smithville, so I was like,
yes.
reminder.
The big vote coming up as we're, of course, looking at the latest on that Friday night football Mississippi Live game of the week. It's a close vote there. We'll have that total for you coming up. I think we'll do that at 10 o'clock tonight. We'll let you go ahead and show that, Gabe, then. So you do still have a little time to vote on that. Our next live broadcast coming up at 6 p.m. here from the Room to Room Weather Center, and appreciate everyone for supporting us and all of our sponsors. If you're willing to, of course, check them out and support them, because obviously they support us, and we appreciate all the folks for doing that there. So we'll have the latest updates, of course, on everything going down at 6 o'clock here. If you do have weather to report, you can use the Mississippi Live Weather app to send in those reports, and of course we'll have updates coming up at 6. See you then.
What would you give for a child you loved to make their wish come true? To help them fight a critical illness? Just imagine what you'd do. Every single one of us can make the stars align, because when we come together, hope and joy will shine.
'Cause in a star